Anyway, this is Javier Valderramos. We are on Planet Texas Podcast. And today I actually get to have one of my favorite streamers, one of my favorite people to watch on YouTube that happens to play Magic the Gathering. He is Brian Coval. Did I say it correct?
Yep.
He is BoshNRoll. Now, you may know BoshNRoll because he is a champion of Magic the Gathering. And on my show, I've had world champions on my podcast. I've had professional wrestling champions on my podcast. I've actually had Olympic champions on my show, and even Miss Southwest from just looking good shoes. But now today, I actually have a Magic the Gathering champion. The man has won several events. He is actually a Star City Game Invitational winner. He's actually won vintage championships, which is, by the way, the oldest format that we could possibly play with broken cards imaginable. And he's also won at Star City Games, the Legacy 10K in Baltimore, which he actually went undefeated. And thank you for coming on.
Yeah, my pleasure.
So I wanted to ask you a couple of questions about Legacy and actually what it is and what it takes to win in the format. Because Legacy is actually it's a financially draining format, we could say. Like it's actually kind of hard to get into.
Yeah, at this point, uh, unfortunately, Wizards of the Coast, back in the early 90s. I don't know how much of your audience is Magic specific, so I'll lay some groundwork here.
You
Uh,
should lay some groundwork because a lot of
yeah,
them are like
okay.
they're gonna instantly Google like who you are, and they were like, you should have you have your championship belt. You should wear your championship belt, and then maybe you'll get more credit.
Right,
I'm
right, yeah, yeah. Make that the thumbnail for this episode. Just me with that
gonna
wrestling
pull it.
belt.
I'm gonna pull the picture, and you're
All
like,
right, cool. Perfect. So so the background here, Magic comes out in 1993. And then in 1996, a few years later, they have this great idea to reprint all of the best cards and make them heavily available. So cards that were 20, 25, $30 at the time are now pennies if you get the newer version of it. And the people who had been collecting for 3 years and spending the 25, $30 on those high-end cards at the time were really mad. Why did I do this? Why did I spend all this money? If I had known more were coming out, I would have just waited. And Wizards of the Coast, the company that makes Magic, overreacted at the time and said, okay, we will never reprint any rare card ever again. And just wrote a document called the reserved list. And now, 30 years later, they're much better at managing the reprints and how they release cards and how they manage the secondary market of because they Wizards of the Coast doesn't sell individual Magic cards. They sell sealed packs that contain random cards. And then there's a whole secondary industry where people open those cards and then buy and sell them individually. So they're better at managing that now. They would not obliterate anyone's collection value, but they're still beholden to this early promise of the reserve list, which they phased out around 2000, 2001, I think. So any card in the last 24 years is available for reprint, but there's this era of cards from 93 to 2000 that they just can't make more of. And a lot of those cards are the backbone of this legacy format that Javier is talking about. So more and more Magic players join the game, and supply and demand just turns what was once a $10, $15 card into an $800 card. And there's not more of them coming.
I remember when I started playing Magic, I saw the dual lands, and I was like, $30 for a dual land. I'm not gonna buy that. Why would I want to buy that?
Right. Yeah. I have a story that I tell when I was trying to assemble my dual lands when I was in college in like 2006 to 2010. Those were my college years where I was working on this. I was at a little game store in Baltimore and they had a tropical island, a card that today is about $500. maybe 600 if it's in really good condition. They had a beautiful, pristine, unblemished copy of Tropical Island in their case for $35. And I was haggling my face off with the store manager, like, come on, $35. Yeah, it's in great condition, but this price is outrageous. Like, I could get a nice Tropical Island for $25. Like, can you give me anything here? And I ended up just not buying it because $35 was outrageous. And today that would be graded in a slab somewhere, PSA 10 or whatever. But
Hmm.
yeah, at the time, we just didn't know.
Well, you know what? I'm going to show you my prize possessions of Magic.
Cool.
Show you how legit I am. I traded a car for my set of dual lands, for my dual lands. I had to trade one of my old cars. Not that I'm a car collector, but one of my friends is like, "Hey, Hob, I'm broke. I don't have wheels. Well, you have so many cars. What can I do to get like, well, what do you have?" So he has dual lands. He has old dual lands. Let me show you real quick.
Yeah, great.
So by the way, I have it insured with State Farm because like my collection. So this is my land binder.
Are the Black Border ones beta or foreign?
Beta.
Nice, very nice.
This was
Yeah,
like this was like 15 years ago.
that's awesome. Yeah, in my years of collecting, and you win a tournament and you get a few $100 store credit and you spend it on something. I did churn my way up from white border dual lands. For the non-Magic players listening, those are the air quotes cheap versions. Those are the ones that only cost $500 now.
Yeah.
I I worked my way up to foreign black border, which are the middle ground. Those are worth about double the white border ones. But beta and alpha, those are the first ones ever printed. Those were in the first packs that ever went out in 93 and 94. Those are worth some of them tens of thousands of dollars, depending on
Oh, I
their
know they
condition at
are.
this point. It's crazy.
Bro, I had to take my binder, my land binder, because like I took some of my stuff and they were like, no, we don't give a shit about this. So I took on my land binder and then they actually got what the hell is it? Where they put on their eye and they had
Oh,
to
the
actually get like
jeweler's loop.
yeah, they had to get like a specialist and they couldn't even find one because like it's State Farm, so they don't know what the hell they're doing.
Yeah,
So they actually
I have a rider on my home insurance policy that covers my cards. It's a generic, like, costs me $10 a month for $100,000 credit or something,
yeah,
there's
it's
some
the
number
same
like
here.
that. Yeah, and I had to send pictures. I had to get my collection appraised by an expert, which luckily is just any store owner, anyone who buys and sells Magic cards qualifies as an expert,
Mm.
and I know plenty of them. But yeah, I had to inventory everything I had, show it to one of my store owner friends. They had to verify that I had what I said I had, pictures of the high end stuff. Yeah, I've done it.
Yeah, they needed it in writing. Like they were just so like they could have probably taken it to the Pawn Stars as far as
Right. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Now when I traded that car, I was so pissed that all he had was Magic cards, and then you fast forward like 20 years later, like I have a car right, I have a house right there, just sitting there when I retire.
Yeah. That's actually been a huge uh, part of my life, because I started trading for and buying these high-end Magic cards when I was 16 years old. And then all through college, like I said, you win a draft at the local store, you get $20 credit. At the time, a dual ed, the lower end ones might have been $20. Just buy one of those. Now the lowest, cheapest one is 350, 400. And I had some tough times right out of college. I graduated college straight into the 2008 market collapse, and nobody could get a job. And I had a degree in sociology, which isn't particularly directly useful anywhere. It's one of those generic, uh, I have some skills degrees. And
Yeah.
I was making, like 20K a year for my first 4 years out of college, with a college degree. And sometimes dinner was saltine and peanut butter, and you just made it work. But knowing that I had a magic collection that was worth 15, $20,000 in my apartment, at any point I could hit that button and have money very quickly. It let me kind of ride that edge and take some risks that maybe someone without that nest egg or that emergency
Yeah.
slush couldn't take. And I was able to get through that tougher time.
Yeah, because like, I remember one time my mother needed surgery, and then so I took two of my duels. I knew, and I hated it, but I took two of the duels, and then I sold them, and I
Yep.
think they gave me 15 grand, something like that, for the blues, for the blue lands. It was like
Yep.
volcanic island, but for two for like 15, I think I wanted to say I got ripped off, but I don't think because it wasn't for me. Like I literally
Right.
just kind of you do what you need to do kind of mentality.
Yeah, medical bills are the worst for like if you hold your cards for a few years and then flip them into a house, that feels good because you have something that you're building equity. You still have an investment somewhere, and you got to live somewhere. So having a house is
Yeah.
nice. But myself and many people I know, when they have to flip cards for medical bills, that feels so bad. And obviously, you got to be alive, but they just take everything from you.
I mean, it feels bad, but it's not. I didn't feel bad doing it. I just kind of was like, it's kind of shitty. I will openly say that.
Yep.
But you do what you need to do. It's you only have one mother. You just have to
Right.
take care of
Of
her.
course. Yeah, you're going to save your mom if you can.
Yeah, yeah. What really feels bad to me is like when I see these dudes that go to the shops and they buy cards without paying their bills. And then they have to turn around and flip their cards to pay their bills when they could have just paid their bills to begin with.
Yeah, there is unfortunately the model of random cards in packs is how cards are sold. How different is that than a scratcher ticket in reality? Obviously, the magic cards are game pieces, so if you're actually trying to play the game, it's very different than a scratcher ticket. But if you're just trying to spend $4 on a pack to open a $10 card and keep the party going, that's just a sickness that unfortunately pops up in many industries. The whole gambling industry based on that sort of thing. It's the slot machine world.
Yeah, I mean, Magic itself is kind of the slot machine game, but I think all of the card games are realistically the slot machine game.
Right. Yeah, the game itself is very different than gambling because there is a large scale segment involved. There are some random elements in the gameplay itself, but the better players do win more often. So you're not gambling once you play the game, but if you are just opening packs and hoping to hit that big card so you can flip it and buy more packs, then you're definitely just gambling.
I think that's funny that you're talking about the better players because I wanted to go into talking about how successful you were with Magic the Gathering.
Let's talk
So I
about it.
wanted to, yes, sir. I wanted to ask you about what drew you into the legacy format, if you mind me asking.
Well, we were just talking about it. It was mostly money, which I was in college. I graduated high school in 2006, and I was in college, like I said, right when the 2008 market collapse recession happened. And everything was expensive. Nobody had any money. And the primary way to play Magic was standard, which for the non-Magic people is it's the last 2 or 3 years worth of sets are legal. So every time a new set comes out, it bumps out the older sets, and that's how they keep the game fresh and keep you buying cards. And it seems weird now to say this because now we were just talking about how individual cards you might need could cost $800. but back then, a standard deck costs like 150, $200, but so did a bunch of these dual lands we've been talking about. And if you spend your $200 on a pile of dual lands and format staples for Legacy that doesn't rotate, then one or two standard rotations later, you actually have saved money and made money rather than constantly churning, selling your old cards, buying the new ones, trying to keep up with what standard looks like this week. And I just realized I would rather be doing this. I would rather spend money now and know that it's good as long as I'm playing Magic rather than, maybe the hot card this week,
Yeah.
the format changes a little and it's worthless next week, and I'm out $80 as a broke college kid who doesn't have $80 in the first place. So I just went for the more stable long-term thing, which just by luck and circumstance turned out to be an incredible investment now, 20 years later.
I think it's funny. Like you remember back when Star City had like tournaments weekly and bi-weekly and so
Yeah.
forth. It would be like that one random card that was in someone's deck and it would shoot up to like 40, $50.
Yeah. And yeah. And the like standard moved so quickly. The smart people would be playing a deck that beat the deck that won last week, and the normal people would be playing last week's deck. And then the card in the smart people's deck that beat last week's deck would go up in price. Then all the normal people would buy that, and the smart people had already moved on to the thing that beats that for next week. And I was a normal person. Like I wasn't, that good. I wasn't that invested. I didn't have a team of smart people I could work with to figure out the next thing. So I was stuck in that cycle of buying last week's thing, losing to this week's thing, and just losing money and losing magic. It was not a productive cycle for a kid with a part-time job.
I don't know. Like it was never like I always had like issues. Like sometimes I actually had the cards that went up in price and I'm just kind of like I tried to trade it away. Sometimes I would trade away cards that were the expensive stuff because I never really looked into the internet. I remember the Beckett's, like I remember the Beckett's where they actually had the prices on them.
Yeah, I all growing up through the 90s and early 2000s, I was subscribed to Inquest and Scry magazines, which every issue came with a printed price guide for Magic cards. This was pre-internet or early internet, and you would just have to pull out this month's issue of Inquest to figure out what that cursed scroll is worth right now, because somebody's trying to trade with you off of last month's episode or last month's issue, and it's worth $5 less. And it's like, no, 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 it's $15 now. You're trying to get me off last month's price. That's the best we had.
Yeah, I remember going round and around to that stuff, and I would just be telling them that that's not what it's worth to me. You
Yeah.
just make them mad. So
Yeah,
I
there was
wanted
a
to ask,
whole culture of binder grinders, we called them, during that era, who knew all the prices. And it was before smartphones, and people on the floor of tournaments couldn't look up prices on the fly. So the binder grinders would just give themselves $2 here, undercut you $2 here. And as long as it sounds reasonable, like my pile's worth 20, your pile's worth 20, but in reality, it's like 18 and 24, and they're up $6, and it's close enough that they know they're not getting ripped off, but it's different enough that they do that 100 times in a
yeah,
weekend. They're up a lot of money. And yeah, smartphones really helped people protect themselves once we could actually look up prices on the fly.
yeah, nickel and dime's always been like one of the worst things about Magic, or at least to me, it's been more irritating than anything.
Yeah, just being an adult with income now, I it's been a long time since I traded a card. Like tried to haggle with someone my pile of stuff for your pile of stuff. Now I just go to a store and buy the card, and then I own the card. And someday I'll sell my entire collection, but I'm not in a position where I have to sell last week's deck to buy this week's deck. I'll just buy what I need, and then I have it all.
So I wanted to ask you about your achievements. You've gone to many tournaments. You've won and competed in a lot of them. Like, what is one of the tournaments that stand out for you personally?
The first one that really stands out to me is the Star City Invitational that I won in 2017. I had been plugging away at the Magic competitive circuit for probably 10 years at that point, just almost every weekend, piling in a car with all my friends, drive 3 hours to Baltimore, drive 3 hours to Philly, drive 3 hours to Pittsburgh. I was living in Central PA at the time. Everywhere we wanted to go was a 3 to 6 hour drive. There was probably hotel costs involved. There was gas. We had to eat on the road. We had to enter the tournament. And then sometimes I made some of that money back. I usually didn't. And then I got out of college. I got a job. I got new friends. I had a girlfriend at the time. And I kind of got to a place where it's like, I'm not that good at this. I put a lot of effort in, but I'm not winning. And these are all weekends where I'm not hanging out with my friends. These are weekends I'm not spending with my partner. And maybe I should stop doing this at the level I'm doing it at. And I decided that that Star City Invitational was going to be my last hurrah because I that was a qualification event. You had to earn a qualification invite only. I wasn't going to skip that. So I drove down to Roanoke, Virginia, a 6 hour drive with two of my friends, and hotels were involved, gas was involved, everything I said was still true. But I was in just kind of a flow state that weekend because I didn't actually care about the result that much. I was just, you know, having fun. This is my last outing, right? Let's just cut all that mental overload and play the game that I like, probably for the last time at this level. And then I just won most of my matches and ended up winning the tournament. And I came home with a $20,000 check, and I was invited to the next invitational 6 months later. And part of winning that tournament was you get free entry to Star City Games circuit for the half a year that you're the reigning champion. So it's like that was so much on my plate, like such an opportunity and uh such a boost to show maybe I can do this, that yeah, I think I had to quit and really believe I was quitting to get into the flow state where then I could win and cut all that other stuff out. All the stress of if I don't win, I'm losing money. If I don't win, I'm no good. And then, I don't care anymore. Now I do win.
So you were in the mindset of like, fuck it. And you're just like, I'm gonna win.
Yeah, just
And you
I'm out there on vibes, and the vibes were good.
so what was that? What did your other half was like? What was her mindset when you stroll into the house and be like, look, honey, I got a $20,000 check.
I mean, that was, I think, a turning point. I mean, that relationship was no good. She is not my current wife, but like at the time, I think it did give some validity to what I was doing because she was, like she would kind of roll her eyes or huff or puff a little bit when I said, I'll be out of town 2 weekends again this month. She'd be like, when I feel like I never see you. And like, yeah, I mean, that's fair. I get it. Like it's reasonable for a person to want their partner to be around. And that was part of why I was going to quit because I felt, bad going out there with nothing to show for it, 2 weekends a month and leaving her home. But then I had something to show for it. And she was suddenly like, oh, okay, all right. I see what's
It's
going on
like,
now. This is possible. It's never
that's
happened
all it
before, but
was.
that's cool.
You bring a check of $20,000 and you're just like, it's okay.
Yeah, look what I can do. Uh, and I put a down payment on my home with that money. I went from a renter to an owner from winning that one Magic tournament, which obviously has all sorts of other stability benefits. And like when COVID hit, I was in a home that I owned when the renter market was going insane for all the factors involved in that, and just all these cascading things where I wasn't thinking about, what if there's a global pandemic and the housing market goes crazy? Uh, when I bought a house, I was just like, I think this is a good idea with this money I have. And I have this money because I was kind of good at magic and just all these cascading effects of this one moment literally changed my life from playing a card game one weekend.
I mean, you did the right thing in all true honesty. Like I can only imagine what some of these people do with their money that they win. They just blow it on more magic cards, or they don't do anything essentially with it. But I'm very happy and glad that you actually did the proper investment and put it into something that you're going to be
Yeah.
using for the rest of your life.
Yeah, while it was frustrating in real time, it has been retroactively a blessing to experience my success when I was already, I think I was, so 2017, I would have been turning 30. So I would have been 29 years old. Got my first big tournament win at 29 rather than at 16. Like a lot of these Magic players really find success when they're kids. And yeah, I've saw there was a kid I used to know who did well at a Star City event, got like $1,000 and bought like a $500 pair of sneakers and some concert tickets to go see a rapper he likes. And that was the whole $1,000 gone immediately. And I probably would have done the same thing if I had $1,000 suddenly in my pocket at 16. So having my first real big win at 29, I had a lot of life experience already.
Well, I mean, he's a kid. Like I kind of expect children to like waste money like
For
that.
sure. Yeah, I would have.
Even adults, some of the adults that I go play the game with, I kind of expect them when they win. Because we have a lot of really good Magic players here in Austin. And sometimes I cringe when I sit there and I see like their vehicles looking the way they look. We'll just say it like that. Knowing they just got a boatload of money when they went to Worlds.
Right.
Well, I wanted to ask you about the mindset that it takes because you are a champion. You've won the Star City Games Invitational. I've mentioned it before. You are a Grand Prix champion and you are a vintage champion. What is the kind of mindset that you need in order to compete? More than just like a fantasy card game that we're playing, because at some point it becomes more of chess instead of checkers.
Yeah, my mindset, first and foremost, is that I'm clocking in for work. A lot of people use a Magic tournament as vacation. I'm on the road with my guys. That I have a budget. It's going to cost me, $400 between the hotel, the food, the gas, the plane ticket, whatever it is, and they just treat it like you're going to Europe or whatever. Or this, I'm spending this money to have this experience and expect no cash return on my investment. But I am the opposite. I literally play Magic for my job. I've been a full-time Magic YouTuber for 3 years now. I have a master's degree. I had a successful career going, and Magic just made more sense financially, stability wise, than my real job. I didn't take a risk in my mid 30s and throw my career away because I'd rather play cards. Like it just made business sense for me to do it. And it was undeniable. Magic kind of dragged me kicking and screaming into being a job for me. I tried really hard not to do that, but it just kept making more and more sense. So now my travel costs are tax deductible. My meals on the road are tax deductible. Like this is seriously a business for me. And when I've gone to Prague the last 2 years in a row for the European Eternal Weekend. It's the big tournament every winter,
Yeah.
and I travel with friends, and Prague is known for their beer. Pilsen, the city of Pilsen, is where Pilsner, the process, was invented. Like Pilsner beer, you're there. You're at the tap where it all started. They have a crazy like club life, like night scene in Prague. That whole like Eastern European, former Soviet bloc, crazy dance music, like all that, tracksuits and party drugs, whatever. People,
That's the best, baby. That's what you
right?
got.
And I did none of that twice because I'm not on vacation. I'm not there to party. I am there to work. The 2 years ago when I went, a friend of mine who lives in Belgium arranged an Airbnb, and he just asked me if I wanted to be in it, and I said, "Yeah, sure. That's great. Yeah, take that off my plate." And when I got there, I realized it was a 14-person Airbnb and it was full. It wasn't two or three people or four like I had pictured. It was 14. And it was bunk style sleeping, like literally bunk beds,
Oh,
like six
oh my
dudes in a
God.
room kind of thing. And
That smells miserable.
right, right. Like it's not what I had in mind, but you could tell across that spectrum of people who showed up. Uh, I was in bed like 10 o'clock every night, responsible dinner, brush my teeth, go to bed, get up early. I'm the first one in the shower, the first one all ready to go to the tournament the next day. Meanwhile, other people were just up chatting, drinking in our living room, chatting up until 1, 2 in the morning. And other people didn't even get back from the club until 4 a.m. and just blasted. And they get 3 hours of sleep. And then they have to play high level magic for 10 hours the next day. And, I did better than all of them. No surprise, because I'm just not there to party. I'm not there for an expensive steak dinner with my friends. Like that's the real mindset. The last night, Sunday night, when the tournaments were over, I did go out for a big dinner with a big group and we stayed up late and all I had to do was catch a plane in the morning. That's fine. The work was over. But when we talk about mindset, it's I am not here to hang out using magic as an excuse. I am here to work. And when the work's over, I'll be able to hang out.
Yeah, because like I have that issue from time to time because like I'm not in their position, like your position. Like I go and I have fun when I go to the events.
Yep.
Like I remember I can't talk to John. He is he's pretty much like a level 5 judge. He's one of my closest friends that I openly acknowledge, John Carter, as well as a couple of the others, but I know that they're on the clock, like they're working. So I just can't like hover around them and just like be like the fly on the horse kind of deal.
Right. Yeah. I was a judge for a long time too before I converted my efforts into being a player. And and yeah, that is part of it. Like the when I would judge a full day event and I'd take a car down to the event with four other guys who are all playing in the event and they don't make top eight of the event. Maybe they only play 4 rounds out of nine. And then after the 9 rounds, there's 3 rounds of elimination to get a winner. So I'm there for 12 hours because I'm working. If these guys are eliminated from the tournament 6 hours in, they got to sit there. And that
Yeah.
became something that people who wanted to travel with me really had to figure out. Like, are you on a work schedule or are you on a play schedule? Because I'm going there to work. Even before I was a pro player, I was showing up to work as a judge, like working the event, making it happen for the people playing in it.
Yeah. So for a lot of people that don't quite understand what we're talking about, he's talking about a competitive level. It's the same competitiveness as an NBA player or an NFL player or somebody that's trying to accomplish something amazing and great. That's what people don't really. I just wanted to like put that out there, like a comparison of what it is that we're talking about. Okay, so I wanted to ask you about how exactly do you balance competitive play with your content creations, like when you do your YouTube videos.
It's honestly tough. This is the biggest kind of hurdle that I found where with a big tournament coming up, I really just want to get as many reps, as much practice as possible with the deck that I am serious about playing for that tournament. But my YouTube channel, I play a different deck every day. And that means I have to record with a different deck every day, which means I either have to play 2 Magic tournaments a day, the one I record plus the one to practice, or I have to overload my daily content with a lot of the same deck because that's what I'm working on, or I just get less practice than I want. And it is that's actually the biggest hurdle. There is the silver lining where because it's my job to play Magic every day, kind of like using a sports analogy, like I'm not in the batting cages every day working on my swing, but if I'm running one day, doing shot put one day, playing football another day, I'm still doing athletics. I'm still keeping my muscles sharp. I'm still doing something, even if it's not the specific skill that I'd like to be honing in on right now. So it's not like I am not putting any practice. I'm still getting perspective of whatever. I'm still seeing a lot of game states. I'm still making a lot of decisions, still keeping my mind sharp, playing all the random decks throughout the week for the channel. And I like to think it's kind of like weight training, where if I have to play some silly deck all week long, yeah, exactly. Getting swole.
Yeah,
Uh,
get that
yeah,
muscle
right.
going.
Exactly. Like it, a lot of what I do is people sending me their ideas, which are a little silly or a little outside of the normal competitive realm. And how can I help that person win with their deck that's not quite as good as the top decks? And if I'm able to uh, do those thought exercises and tune those decks and play to a winning record with the decks that are objectively less powerful than the one I'm actually going to play in the tournament, then I'm just showing up on game day, uh, having, I took the weights off. I'm not running with the weighted vest on anymore. Now I'm just running. Now I'm fast as heck. So I like to think it's more like weight training or just generic training for magic skills that will apply to my tournaments rather than a loss of opportunity.
So you like Piccolo and Goku when they take the weights off after they're done with their pre-fight? They're like,
Exactly,
now we're ready
exactly.
for the real fight.
Yeah, I'm just Goku training on the moon in high gravity, and then I get set free and I move crazy fast. Yep, that's how it feels.
Like, you ever had times where you're just kind of you wake up and you're like, man, I don't want to do it, but you just have to get up and do it anyways.
Yeah, that's really I feel like anyone who owns their own business probably feels that way because this is my sole source of income and I don't have a boss that is going to check my time card or is break my balls if I'm 10 minutes late or whatever. If I want to snooze, if my alarm goes off and I feel like I need another hour of sleep, I could take it, but I have to be disciplined that that's an hour of work I'm not getting done that day. If a new show comes out, like the new season of The Last of Us starts pretty soon at the time of recording. Like next week, it's coming out. I'm really excited about
Yeah,
that show.
I'm excited about that too. I can't wait to watch. And the only thing I'm cringing about is I don't want to spoil it because I actually like I played through the first game
Okay,
when
I
I
have not played through the game, so
oh
spoiler
yeah,
free.
no, well, let me not talk about it then.
Okay, so yeah, like a show like The Last of Us comes out, or some. I know Netflix is about to get another arc of One Piece, which is a show that I've been watching on Netflix, and that's probably going to be 90 episodes that they drop at once. I could spend 3 days just binging those 90 episodes of One Piece that are about to drop on Netflix, or I could do my job and do it slower. Like it, I that's that's kind of like where the discipline kicks in, and it's not that I don't want to do it. It's just that as a self-employed person with nobody to directly answer to day by day, you have to answer to yourself and go do the work, even if you might rather do something else.
So I also wanted to ask you, like what is the schedule like for a top competitive Magic Gathering content creator and competitive player? Like what is that? Like, do you actually like work out in the morning and you're just like, I'm done with the workout, honey, and now it's time to make that money.
Yeah, my schedule, I don't normally set an alarm because I'm pretty good at waking up when the sun comes through my window. I have that kind of natural thing. But I usually wake up between 8 and 9 in the morning. I eat some breakfast and then I do work out. I have a lifting routine 3 days a week, and then I have an exercise bike or I run to the park nearby or whatever on the alternate weight training days. Uh, Sundays are my rest day. I got to do that first thing every morning. And then I shower and come in here to my office where I'm talking to you right now, see who has commissioned me to do what. That's where my content comes from. My Patreon subscribers send me decks to play, and I see who's next in line. Let's let's bang this out. Then I work on their deck. Then I go play it on Magic Online. I record that. I edit that. I upload that. I do the whole back end thing, the title, the description, the thumbnail, make it look like something people would want to click on if they scroll past it on YouTube. And I usually am done around 5 o'clock. And I also coach regularly for Magic coaching. That's a big part of my business as well. I usually coach 1 to 3 hours a day. So that would be either, before, after, or during I'm recording. Maybe I take a recording break depending on what the schedule of my coaching client looks like. But yeah, it's workout, coach, record, edit, and that's what a work day looks like for me.
Yeah. And but by the way, all the information you send me, I will have it on links and descriptions. So
Perfect.
if anybody wants to get coaching from you, they want to become the best they can be at Magic, I will certainly send them your way. I'll tell them that Brian's the best Magic player in the world. Don't go to anybody else.
And my
So,
my job before I became a full-time Magic content creator, I worked in special ed, and I have a master's degree in curriculum and instruction. And it was literally my job to focus on one person at a time and design a curriculum to teach that person how to increase their skills in life. So that's what I offer in the Magic world. There are better Magic players than me who offer coaching. There are better Magic players than me who make content, but there are no better teachers than me who play better than me. So
so
I
in
have that going on.
so in a sense, could you say that because of your special ed education, which I'm not saying the people that you're coaching are special ed or anything like that. I'm not saying that. But were you able to translate that into helping others be better Magic players?
Absolutely. And my job in the field, I wasn't a special ed teacher. I was a behavior and instructional support specialist, which meant that I taught teachers how to teach kids who are hard to teach. So they brought me in for the really extreme cases. And a lot of times I was explaining to a parent with no history in the space or no technical skills or no technical knowledge of how to work with a profoundly disabled person. I had to convert my knowledge into plain language quickly in a way that they could understand it and apply these new skills at home starting immediately. So when I'm talking about a high level Magic skill on the fly in a live recorded video where it's happening in front of me, I hope that what the skill that I bring that other creators don't is my ability to explain to the listener what I'm doing in a way that they will understand it.
That's amazing. So for everybody that doesn't know, he is an essential employee, an essential worker
Mhm.
amongst like all the other Magic players. So I wanted to somewhat move on to like what advice are you able to give other people that want to get into the Magic world of content creating? Like what advice would you give them?
So it's a separate set of advice for people who want to create content versus people who want to be good at Magic. And you don't have to be good at Magic to make good content, and you don't have to be a content creator to play good Magic. There's two separate things. The content world, you have to offer something, not necessarily that nobody else offers, because the Magic content world is pretty saturated. There's a lot of people out there trying their hand at it, but you do have to. Who are you? Why would I click on you instead of this other person? Uh, so, are you in a niche that needs to be served? That's kind of where I got my start. I am the legacy guy. There's lots of people recording a lot of Magic content, but I wasn't the first, but I became the most consistent, and I'm now the biggest person who focuses on legacy. And that's afforded me the opportunity to do some other stuff I like too on my channel here and there, but primarily legacy is what you get from me. That is one of the niches I serve. The other niche is what we just talked about. I am teaching people through my play how to get better at Magic every minute of every video, if they care to listen to what I'm saying. Where other people just kind of throw on some music and play Magic and they let you watch them, but they're not really providing information. They're showcasing a deck they built, maybe. Maybe they're just a lot of fun to hang out with. They say a lot of jokes, or they have great taste in music, and just hanging out with them, listening to their music while they make jokes and play Magic is cool. But they're not really teaching you how to get better. So the niches I serve are legacy and teaching. And then you have to be engaging in some way. There's endless people streaming on Twitch to 0 or 1 viewers who are just kind of, they turned on the camera while they play Mario Kart or something. And
Yeah.
they're not saying like, up here on the track, you can save 1 second off your lap time if you drift into this curve, or there's a secret tunnel over here. They're just kind of playing. They don't even have a microphone. Why would anyone watch a random person play Mario Kart? Like, you have to at least be fun. If you're not a top ranked Mario Kart player in the world, then maybe, are you good at voices? Can you do like the Mario voice or like the Bowser voice, and make it funny? Like, what are you offering? Why would anyone spend any of their time on this in this internet world where we have Netflix, Disney Plus, Prime Video, YouTube, whatever? There's so much entertainment out there, and there's so few hours of the day. Why would anyone give you their time? And you got to answer that question if you're going to move into the content space.
Did you happen to watch the Nintendo Direct for the Switch too?
No, I didn't.
Oh, you are truly missing trash fire right now. It's the best way to find it.
I had heard that the Switch 2 is not going to be pre-sold as originally planned, but I haven't like actually watched anything or anything beyond that.
Oh yeah, so I watched it and it was amazing. And then, you know that little SpongeBob thing of like 2 hours later.
Mm-hmm.
It was literally like 2 hours later, and then everybody just lost their minds. They want you to lower the price. Why is it so expensive? They're blaming it on the tariffs. Like the world's coming to an end. Dogs and cats. It's just like just I don't know what I don't know what to think anymore on this one. I just kind of like just delayed for a year and figure it out.
Yep, whatever. Luckily, I my gaming is Magic. The car between the cards and the online platform, I do have a Nintendo Switch. I bought it in like 2021, so it had been out for many years. I bought it used.
Mhm.
I have a couple games that I like. I mostly only play it on airplanes. So I'm not the person who is worried about, can I get a PS5 and how much is it going to cost? Like, that's just not me. But I
Yeah,
feel for the people who it is.
I do too. Like I'm kind of like I wanted it, but I'm just kind of like tell me what it takes, and then I'll figure out how to get it after that. Well,
Right.
so I wanted to ask you what sets Legacy apart from all the other formats? Because it could be very exciting, and then there's times when it's just like paint dry, especially when we're doing force check magic. Because there's plenty of times when force check magic is not fun magic.
Right. I think that's actually a strength of Legacy. Not, it's a feature, not a bug, that sometimes games are miserable. Uh, the like Legacy is where design mistakes go to thrive, basically. Things that were, they've long since rotated out of standard. They're too old to be applicable to the medium length formats like Pioneer or Modern. If you want to play a card from 1993 next to a card from 2025, Legacy is where you're able to do that. If you want to design a deck that is risky but powerful and frequently tries to win the game on turn one. And if you get stopped, you have no chance of winning. But the other half of the time, you win the game on turn one. You can do that in Legacy. And if you want to play a longer game, you can build your deck to do that too. But you have to build your deck knowing that some people are going to try to win on turn one. What are you going to do to stop them? And I really like that you can play ridiculous combo decks that win on the first turn, or you can play merfolk or goblins or elves or just a theme deck built around some powerful tribe of creatures that you like. And that will probably be at least a little bit viable. And there's just so many things you can do because so many cards are legal. And that's the strength of Legacy, even though the gameplay by objective measures is bad. There's a lot of cards that are miserable and bad designs and probably shouldn't exist at all, but they are kind of the glue that holds our sick little exercise together. It's kind of like that Simpsons episode where Mr. Burns has every disease and they're all just canceling each other out. None of them can kill him because they're all fighting to get through the door at the same time. That's kind of how Legacy is balanced. And that's what you're signing up for. There's so many ways to play Magic that if you don't enjoy that, you can play Modern or Pioneer or Standard or Booster Draft or Commander or whatever. Like there's so many things you could do if you don't like this experience, but this experience is unique and powerful and asks you to solve a bunch of different puzzles at once.
There's so many decks to play in Legacy, not just combo decks. And I'm glad that you brought up the tribal decks because a lot of people are just kind of like, I know they poo-poo on tribal decks because I still love my slivers.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the strength of Legacy. Like Slivers is not on my radar as a competitive deck that I need to be prepared for specifically. But if my opponent starts a game with Cavern of Souls on Sliver, I know what my job is in front of me because I have this 20 years of institutional knowledge playing this format, where someone who's only been playing a year may have never heard of the Sliver deck. Like I know exactly what your pressure points are, what I need to stop from happening, how I need to slow you down, how I can get ahead of you. And just that the format uses cards going back to 1993 and having knowledge that goes back. I mean, I've been playing since 97, playing competitively since about 06, playing Legacy since about 08. So having decades of card knowledge and deck knowledge and it is randomly applicable in spots that might surprise you is part of the fun of Legacy.
I got a funny story that so I went to go play in Austin. It's playing Modern. And I don't know if you remember what Spread Red is.
Oh yeah.
Like the old U deck. I remember there was one F&M where I took Spread Red. It's like my all-time favorite deck. It's like that Infinity, Legacy Burn, Manaless Dredge, and my OG is the Goblin Charger. So I took Spread Red and there was players that didn't even know that deck even existed. And it's just and I was sitting there telling them, yeah, I created it from scratch. Oh, you're so good at Magic. And then it's like, of course.
Nice.
And not that I won anything that day. It was just like fun to sit there and blood with somebody. And then I love you love Magic that much. So I wanted to ask you about how has Legacy evolved in the last 20 years or so? Because it's now nowhere near what it was now it is today.
Yeah, new cards are just better than they used to be. The way Magic releases sets now, for a long time, all cards released were just in the normal set. Like 3 or 4 times a year, we would get a new set. That set is legal and standard. That set is the current booster draft format. And then cards would naturally trickle down. If 70% of the set is standard viable, probably 40% is Pioneer viable, 10% is Modern viable, and then like 1% of cards released made it into Legacy. And we could just kind of identify, like, I remember when Lorwyn came out. This is how old I am. Lorwyn came out in I think '07, maybe '08, and Thoughtseize was in Lorwyn. And we were like, wow, we've been playing Duress since 1998, and Thoughtseize is better than Duress. We can immediately identify this card as something that will make an impact because it looks like something we already know, but it's a little bit better. And we can quickly adopt a card like that into Legacy and then dismiss the other 109 cards in the set, at least because until they prove themselves. But then I think it was like 2011, 2012, they started making Commander products directly. And those featured new cards that skipped standard. So they didn't have to follow the normal standard releases. This is where we got Flusterstorm and True Name Nemesis, Scavenging Ooze, just a bunch of stuff that multiple cards at once quickly changed what Legacy had to be about. And now every set has a Commander release alongside it. There's a standard legal set of cards and a Commander legal set of cards, which goes straight into Legacy. Plus, we get a Modern Horizons set every summer. We've gotten 3 Modern Horizons set plus Lord of the Rings that have all gone straight into Modern and Legacy. And those sets, when you design a whole set to be at Modern power level rather than standard power level, the entire rules of engagement can shift immediately with one set rather than maybe this card replaces an old card we were playing. Maybe this card makes an archetype that wasn't quite there good enough now. Now it's like we have to process this seismic shift almost every summer. And the format moves so much faster than it ever did before based on how cards are printed now.
Yeah, I also feel that Modern Masters has actually like I'm not gonna say it's destroyed standard, but some of those cards could have ended up in standard at some point in time. Instead of them just creating a set that's just like super overpowered.
Right. And unfortunately, with the business incentives and Hasbro as a company is doing very badly, but Wizards of the Coast, which is a subsidiary of Hasbro, is doing great. So Hasbro keeps reaching down into their one golden goose and squeezing it for everything it's worth. I think that Hasbro is kind of strip mining the long-term value and artistry of Magic the Gathering to boost their profits now. And I think that's going to hurt the game long term. I'm not like a doom and gloomer. I don't think the game is going to
Yeah.
die in 3 years, and I'll keep playing it. But Universes Beyond was announced a few years ago where they will put things from other intellectual property onto Magic cards. But don't worry, it's stuff that will be close to Magic. And at first we got some Walking Dead, and yeah, there's already been zombies in Magic. There's been zombies in Magic since the first set. That could make some sense. Zombies and humans, those are archetypes we have. Then we got Lord of the Rings as a whole set. Lord of the Rings, pretty close to Magic vibe wise. Like now we have Frodo and Sam and Bilbo, like named characters from another thing, but we already had halflings and hobbits and wraiths and knights and everything in Magic, so that's fine. But right now, while we're talking, SpongeBob was a set of cards that was just released. SpongeBob freaking SquarePants, and
I
the
know I
next
saw that.
the next big set release, this one's going to standard. This isn't just like a little product you could ignore if you choose to, is Final Fantasy, which, yeah, there's, wizards and magic and magical beasts in there, but like that is a digital video game. That's so different in its feel and tone than uh Lord of the Rings is. And then coming next year, the first of several Marvel sets. Spider-Man is a set that's coming out, like a whole set that goes through standard. And Spider-Man is the first set of several Marvel releases. And Marvel, I think, is now pretty far from Magic the Gathering. I don't know. I feel like we're just becoming Fortnite or Funko Pops or some other thing. that doesn't really feel like Magic the Gathering conceptually or artistically anymore.
I mean, it also depends on like how far they go. Like if that's one of my issues. It's like I get that they're going to continue with the Marvel IP, but I really don't want to see like the disappearance of like Thalia. I don't want to see Kafka. I don't want to see Chandra. Like I don't want to see these notable characters disappear from Magic.
Right. Like right now we're talking while Tarkir Dragonstorm, it's actually pre-release weekend when we're recording this. And
Yeah.
my local store, I'm in a group text with one of my friends who runs a local store, and he said their pre-release is all sold out this weekend for Tarkir Dragonstorm, which is a classic Magic the Gathering set. It's got Elspeth, Jace, Sarkhan, a bunch of Narset. We've
Yes,
got
new
a
mocks. Like
right. Yeah, there's a new Mox.
I
We've got Ugin. Nicol Bolas is back in the story. All of these Magic the Gathering characters featured in a Magic the Gathering world. It's a return to a world that was popular when we did it 10 years ago. It's it's really exciting to see how pumped people are to play with Magic cards that look like Magic cards when the next set's going to be Final Fantasy, and we'll see what that looks like, I guess.
also like to think that that's because I went to the pre-release on Friday. I didn't go to the midnight pre-release. I went to like the 7 o'clock one, and
Right.
then the place that I play at, they have draft with a draft, but it's like so you play. It's like $50 to play, and then you get your pre-release box, but you also get a draft beer or like or a tea or whatever it is that they have on because it's a
Mhm.
cafe. So you kind of get everything you want.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's super like sweet. But yeah, I pulled actually one of the Ugins, and then I was trying to trade it off because like man, if I can't get like two or three more of these, I don't want one.
Right.
And then everybody was just like they're trying to trade with me, but I don't know how to trade properly. 'Cause I'm just a terrible person.
Yeah, trading sucks. We talked about that a little already, but yeah, you can either do it on vibes where yeah, this feels good, or you could pull out your smartphone and try to find exactly the right amount of money in value or whatever. Either version kind of stinks.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the biggest problem, like when you do pre-release, those prices are not real prices. Those are just like sitting there right now.
Right. Yeah, you got to wait a week and a half before anything actually stabilizes and you know what things are
Yeah.
going to look like.
I was trying to sell them the dream. I'm like, well, it's a mythic. Like those cards don't really go down in price, do they?
They do. But yeah, sell that dream.
Yeah, I was trying to sell that dream, man. I was just hard salesman right here. Just like, no, I'll take some fetch land. You can give me some fetch land. It'll be all right. Like, take a set.
Right.
So I wanted to ask you about your process on building and tuning some decks. Like you just recently won with a Canopy Breakfast, and that itself is a combo deck. But did you do anything differently in order for you to essentially win and be undefeated?
So that tournament, I going back to our conversation about me just playing a ton of Magic with a ton of decks. That tournament was a little while ago at this point. The metagame's changed a lot since, but at the time, I was just playing Magic all the time, and I would queue into Cephalid Breakfast randomly, played by different people, and I just found that no matter what I was playing, that deck was really hard to beat. And then when it was time for me to prepare for a real tournament where I wanted to actually win and I wasn't making content, it was just that was in Baltimore. That's a 4 hour drive from me, hotels involved. How do I make this trip worth my time? I want to win and I keep losing to Cephalid Breakfast. Let me see what that's about. And then I do some playing myself. I have luckily at this point in my career a network of people I could talk to and a couple people who were in a group chat I'm in. I'd been doing some work on it. They had a list they liked. They had They even had a sideboard plan and matchup guide written up, and we just talked through that. I bounced my ideas off them, and then showed up and played better than people with a deck that was good. That's really just what it's about.
So I wanted to ask you about your future goals, not just as a player, but also as a content creator. Like what do you have going on for you in the future?
This is something that I'm constantly turning over in my head of I think I have found my audience for YouTube, and in I have like 33,000 subscribers right now. There are Magic channels with 100,000 subscribers. There's one Magic channel with 1 million subscribers, the Tolarian Community College. There there are bigger audiences out there, but I'm currently doing what I want to do in a way that is successful and attainable for me. So I'm constantly wrestling with the idea of, do I want to bring a live camera with me and record my paper play when I'm at paper tournaments? Or do I want to just keep recording on Magic Online? Do I want to offer that different type of content? Do I want to do the editing required for live raw footage from 12 hours of Magic to make it into a video that's going to be fun for anyone to watch? Do I want to do that? Or am I cool sticking with what I'm doing? Do I want to build a studio in my house and have people over and have like a multi-camera setup where we're playing live Magic and I build kind of a cast of local friends who can show up? Like this week I have Alex, next week I have Adam or whoever, and we rotate through people and their signature decks and get some personalities going. Do I want to do that? And currently I'm working very hard every day, and I have a process that works. And I think if I were going to dramatically change the content I offer, I would have to slow down. Releasing 5 videos a week is an achievement of its own, even if those videos are kind of bare bones. Like uh, this is this is me talking into a microphone while I play Magic is what I offer, and it's working. I know like the big people like Tolarian Community College and the Command Zone game nights, they have studios, they have staff. I don't have those things. Those people live in Los Angeles, and like game nights owns a giant warehouse where they have multiple sets set up. They build sets, they shoot commercials for Magic the Gathering in there. It's a professional production company. Like I'm never going to be that. Can I emulate it on a smaller scale? And do I even need to? These are the questions that are kicking around for me all the time.
I mean, personally, you don't have to do anything. You're on the right track. Like everything gets paid. Like you get people like me invite you onto my platform and tell you how great you are, how awesome you are. Like I'm
Right.
sure you get acknowledgement from your fans and people that come to you to learn.
Yep. I am currently very happy with my business and my life and the balance I have and everything. But anytime you're doing something, there is a natural drive of what more could I do? How could I make this bigger? How could I make this better? And but you do have to weigh that against like any additional hours I put into what I make every day is an hour I'm not spending with my wife or whatever, or with my friends or whatever
Yeah.
else I'm doing with my time in life.
Your personal time, your personal life.
Right.
Yeah. So is there anything else that you would like to add before we leave off?
I don't think so. I think we covered a lot of ground today. It was a fun conversation. Of course, plug my stuff. You're gonna link my stuff, but BoshNRoll on
Of
YouTube, come
course.
check it out.
Plug it in. We will make a separate video for it.
Perfect.
All right then.